What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carat Prospect Spotlight, where you get a chance to learn more about NFL draft hopefuls. I'm Steph Sanchez, and I'm excited to have today Miami, Ohio defensive lineman Brian Ugwu. Brian, how you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm doing amazing. Honestly, just enjoying the process and the time I'm spending. So it's been amazing.
Happy to hear it. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear all about it as well. Now, Brian, usually I start these interviews off with on the fun side, so I do 5 rapid fire questions just to get the juices flowing a little bit. So, first thing that comes to mind, you just let it out, all right?
All right,
All right, PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation, easy.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I say night owl.
Favorite cheat day meal?
Wings.
If you could get a sack on any quarterback in the NFL, who would it be?
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, if you could jersey swap with any player in the NFL right now, who would it be?
TJ Watt.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. All right. All right, Brian. We're gonna get into the serious stuff here. Now, first, obviously I want to hear about your career both at Rutgers and Miami, Ohio. I know you did that transfer. So tell me a bit about what went into that decision and why you felt like Miami, Ohio was the right fit for you.
Yeah. So honestly, I definitely feel like that's a big part of my journey, especially my story when it comes to football. Um, so obviously, I'm a Jersey guy. Grew up in New Jersey. Went to high school in New Jersey. I've been in Jersey all my life. And in high school, I had a lot of offers coming out of high school. It's kind of one of the, I would say I was a pretty touted recruit, and I had a pretty good number of offers. However, I just loved Jersey and I loved Rutgers, and I wanted to stay at home, in house, and go to Rutgers. At the time, the head coach was Chris Ash, but as soon as I got there, he got fired. So going in there and then playing for a coaching staff who didn't really know who I was, I knew I had to fight and show them who I am as a person, but also as a player as well. And I felt like I was doing really a good job at that. But sadly, however, in 2021, a week before the first game, we had a scrimmage in camp and ended up tearing my ACL a week before the first season. And I was, en route to playing a lot that year. So I remember just having to miss that whole season and recover from it. And, I'm seeing dudes who were either battling with me for playing time or behind me, just taking that opportunity because I'm not there to, take it. And it sucked, but however, I always remained faithful and confident in myself and in my journey. And I remember I realized, through my recovery process that maybe it's time for a change. Maybe I need a. And at this time, I was playing linebacker. I wasn't an edge or a defensive end. I was a linebacker because I played linebacker in high school and I played running back in high school. Played quarterback in high school as well. So I was a linebacker at Rutgers at this time. But I remember during my time at Rutgers, I really fell in love with the edge position and coming off the edge, sacking the quarterback, making TFLs and disruptions. But like I was saying, during my recovery process, I honestly just felt like I was ready for a change. And I didn't know what it was because obviously I haven't played much at Rutgers, and I was also coming off an injury, so I didn't know what to expect entering the transfer portal. But like I said, I always remained faithful and believed in myself, and I hopped in the portal. I remember entering it at first, like a whole bunch of coaches hit you up, but then as time progresses, you start to see which teams and which schools really want you. And that was kind of the case for my experience. I remember the first day. I remember waking up before I even posted I was in the portal. I was getting emails and messages from a whole bunch of schools, but Miami, it really seemed easy for me to pick Miami just because I felt like out of all the schools that reached out to me, they were the ones that valued me and saw a lot in me and really wanted me to come there and make an impact for their team. So it was kind of easy for me. It was a no-brainer. And as you can see, like that decision for me was a good decision to make, and I would believe it was the best decision to make because I was able to go out there and show the world a little bit or a little glimpse of what I can do on the field. And I'm just excited to continue to show the world what I can do because, as I said earlier, like I was a linebacker at first. I just switched my position when I got to Miami, and I played a few seasons in it. But I feel like there's still a lot more of growing to do. So I'm just excited to see where it could take me.
Yeah, and Brian, man, like that's a hell of a journey right there, and that's like I feel like everything you described there is such a character building moment, right, for you, and took you to that next level that you can now take at Miami, Ohio. Now, and they obviously have a vision for you, and allowed you to blossom that vision, with them. So, tell me a little more about the transition from being more about a linebacker to an edge guy. You said you kind of gravitated to that at a certain point. Was it just that as a linebacker, when you're going in and you're doing blitz packages, or you going in and being a pass rusher, lining up at the edge, you're just liking that a little bit more, or like how'd that come about?
Yeah. So honestly, if I'm being honest, I grew up an offensive guy. Like growing up for me, like I wanted to be a quarterback so bad. Like that was my dream position. And like when you asked me my favorite quarterback to sack earlier, I said Aaron Rodgers because that's someone who I really like enjoyed watching growing up. Um, but I'm obviously when I got to college, I was recruited only for the defensive side, and I was playing linebacker in high school just because like that's the position on defense that my coaches saw me at. Um, but it wasn't until I got to Rutgers when, like you said, they started putting me in on like third down, blitz packages. Sometimes they had me coming off the edge, and I just started to fall in love with it. Honestly, like linebacker is a different game. I feel like it's more mental, um, and for me, playing on the edge, I just felt more free. And I felt like for me, most of the times when you play on the edge, it's a one-on-one matchup most of the time with you
Yeah.
and the tackle. And at the end of the day, who's going to win most of the matchups, and that's how I kind of look at every game I play against the offensive tackle I go against. Like I want to win and dominate more matchups than you. So, like you said, I got put into blitz packages and dime packages, third down packages at Rutgers, and I started falling in love with it more and more and more in scrimmages and practices. When I used to get back there to the quarterback, I was like, man, this is for me honestly the best feeling in defense on defensive field. Um, so yeah, I just started falling in love with it. And then when I entered the portal, I, brought up the idea to Miami, and they were like, yeah, um, we just want you here. We know what you can do, and we know your tool set and what you could do. Like I'm very versatile. Um, so when I got to Miami, obviously it was a little bit of a learning curve. I had my hand in the dirt, and if you watch our defense, we play very tight five techniques.
Mhm.
So. Um, for it's a lot of hands-on with those tackles and taking on double teams from the tackles and tight ends. A lot of other edge rushers in this draft, if they see a tight end on the ball, they're in the nine, outside of it, just
Right.
running outside of everything. For me, I'm in our defense. I'm inside of that tight end, taking on the double teams, and me being 6'3", 240 to 250 range, like it ranges. Obviously I went to Miami, Ohio, so we don't really have the best nutrition. So it could be high some days, low some other days. But I feel like for me, being able to take on those double teams and take on, tackles who are 6'6", 320 or whatnot and dominate them constantly. It just shows a testament to who I am as a player. I'm just very aggressive, very dominant, very powerful, but then also I'm quick. And I feel like a lot of offensive tackles that see me and go against me, they think, all right, he's already automatically a speed guy, but then I hit them with the power, and then it's like, dang, I don't know what to do. So, yeah, I've been enjoying the position, and I'm just excited to see where it goes, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fairly new to you, and the fact that you're already excelling at it at the pace and level that you are right now, I think speaks a lot to the type of edge and player that you are. Now, I know that you mentioned that at Miami, Ohio, you guys ran a specific type of alignment there. So, would you say that that's where you're most comfortable, or like if you had to enter a defense where you're playing more wide, would that be something you'd be willing to pick up?
Man, I'm ready to pick up and do whatever. Um, Making it and playing in the NFL for a very long time is just my end goal, and that's the goal I want to do. And I feel like me being able to say that I played a variety of different positions, a variety of different alignments, and a variety of different shades, it just tells you that you could put him anywhere. He's going to make a play. He's going to dominate. It doesn't. It's not for me to sit here and say I'm more comfortable anywhere because I'd be lying to you. Obviously, the past 3 years, past 3 seasons at Miami, I was playing type five techniques, but on third down, they let me get a little wide. And I'm not going to lie, like obviously being wider and outside of everything could be easier. But
Right. Yeah.
a person like me, I'm not going to run away from a tougher challenge just because something else is easier. So if they see me being in those tight fives, then come on, let's do it. Let me go ahead and dominate. Because at the end of the day, for me, if I thrive through a harder situation or a harder predicament, I feel like that shows a lot more about me than me just taking the easy way out. But back to your question, like I'll play anywhere. I'll play in any defense. If they want me playing inside linebacker, I'll play that. If they want me playing outside linebacker, I'll play that. If they want me playing, a five technique and a 4-3 defense, I'll do that. If they want me playing outside linebacker and a 3-4 defense, I'll do that as well. So I'm just excited for the journey, man.
Well, you are right that, like, playing that five technique and having to be a little more face to face to these tackles, like you do kind of have to develop a different sort of skill set to be able to combat the tackles that you're facing, have different hand movements, and be able to power through them basically. And
Yeah.
I know you've had a lot of success doing that. 2024, probably your best season at Miami, right? Defensive MVP, first team all conference. How did it feel to get those accolades after the 3 years that you were there?
Oh man, it felt amazing. Uh, just because of my journey, like if you go from the very very beginning, like I started loving this sport, and I grew up in a family where it wasn't really spoke about. Like my parents didn't really like the sport at all. They didn't let uh, none of my siblings, weren't really allowed to play sports. Um, so I didn't really start playing football until high school. When I kind of like snuck out the house and kind of hid it from my parents. um, so obviously at the moment when they found out I was playing football in the beginning, they were obviously like, frustrated, but now they're kind of seeing, the accolades and the achievements that it can bring. So they're now very supportive. But man, like just from about it, like from the beginning of my journey to now, like obviously it just means so much to be able to achieve those things that I've done at Miami. Defensive MVP was amazing. First team all conference was amazing. Also just being a leader, obviously like transferring in, it's kind of hard for people to adapt and adjust. But I remember as soon as I got to Miami, I was already seen as a leader. And that was huge for me because that's something I know that I have to me, like my leadership skills. I'm a leader. I'm just a natural born leader. That's who I am. And I always lead. And when I lead, we tend to win. I remember coming to Miami, they weren't really winning a lot. And I remember I got there. These past 2 seasons, we won the MAC championship, and then we made it to the championship final this past season, but we ended up losing. So I just feel like it's a testament to me as a leader as well, because I'm always leading, I'm always winning. But like back to your question, like those achievements mean a lot to me just because it shows how far I've come, and then it helps me believe in myself when things are not going the way I expected to go at first. Just be able for me to just keep my head down and just work and just believe in myself that my time will come. And my time came, and I feel like I did the best with it.
Yeah, and your time's still here. It hasn't ended yet. You're still
Absolutely.
on this journey, and going back to you sneaking off in high school to play
Yeah.
some football. That just says like you're not just a late bloomer in your position. You're a late bloomer to football, and
Yeah.
what I think that tells me is that it's intriguing because I think a lot of teams will see you and see that that there may be some rawness to your game, but at the
Mm.
same time, there's a lot that they can do with that. They can mold you into the type of player that they want. Is that some of the sort of feedback that you're hearing so far from teams? Something
Yeah.
that they like?
Yeah. I feel like number one thing I'm hearing back from teams is they love the way how hard I play. If you go back and look at the stats, man, the past 2 years, I've been top three in the country with the most amount of snaps played at my position. These past 2 seasons, I've led the country in quarterback pressures. And you just talk about how raw I am to the game of football. And for me to be able to do and reach those numbers at
Right.
such an early time in my career is, obviously it's great to know. And, these teams know this as well. So to answer your question, yeah, the number one thing they really like about me is how hard I play, my motor. But then obviously, like I said before, the versatility that I have and the things that I can bring. I feel like a lot of times I try to let these teams know, like, I'm still young to this sport. I'm still young to this game. And there's a lot for me to develop and learn.
Right.
I feel like under the right team and the right system, not even the right system, because like I said, I could play in any system, honestly, but just under the right team, whoever's I'm with, that just help me grow and grow and grow in my game. And I feel like it's really going to be scary for the future for a lot of teams that I go against and the opposition. So
Yeah, I love that mindset, and yeah, well, I'll just say this: like when I watch you, like I see the speed that that you play with. You're so explosive off the snap. You play with this like relentless energy. I see the good use of hands. I know that in order to be disruptive, and you are very much that, you probably have to have some moves in your arsenal, right? Your
Yeah.
pass rush arsenal. So, which are some of your favorite, or if you have one favorite or a couple favorites, what are some go tos for you?
My go-to is a dip and rip. It's very, very easy and effective move, especially with my size and speed. I'm only 6'3". Most of the time, I'm going against tackles who are way taller, don't really
Yeah.
have that much bend or don't really have the most like the best use of their hips. So just hitting them with the easy dip and rip is obviously my go-to, but other teams know that as well. So I always have counters and switch ups. Steps wise, a good one I use. My inside counter move is very, very effective. I just have to be smart when I use that, so I don't like lose contain or anything, especially against a very mobile quarterback. I got to be very careful using those inside counter moves. But a cross chop as well is another one I like to use. So those are some of my favorites.
Tell me a little bit about your film study process because I know when you're thinking about some of these moves that you may do in a game. I know a lot of it is instincts in the moment, but I'm sure there's some times where you're like based on the tackle that you're playing,
Yeah.
you're gonna want to use some of these, right? So, tell me about that process throughout the week. What are some things you look for in opponents?
Yeah, and I feel like that's a great question because I feel like obviously I'm very athletic and I have a lot of things that a lot of people I go against don't really have. But I feel like my one of my biggest advantages is just the way I prepare.
Mm,
So if you talk to my head coach at Miami, he lets you know like once again I go back to the school I went to. I went to a MAC school, so we don't really have the same resources that some of these other P4 teams have. So in order for me to watch film, I got to go to the facility and watch it. And if you were to talk to my head coach right now, he'll let you know if it's a Tuesday night, 8 p.m., and he's going into the facility, he knows he's going to see somebody in there, and it's me because I feel like it's very important. I feel like it's just very important to be able to study, just like you're taking a test. Like
yeah.
you're only going to do as best as you can if you prepare heavily. And I know, like for me, I have to do that as well because I want to know every single weakness the opponent I'm going against or the opposing offensive tackle I'm going against has. What moves does he often get beat against? Is he a high setter or a low setter? Is he a jump setter? Does he heavily rely on his arms? Is he just a grabber, a mauler? So I want to say throughout the season, I'm in there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm in there sometime by myself because obviously you watch film as a team and
Right.
as a district group, but from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I find time throughout the day, at least an hour to 2 hours, just to watch film by myself and just to watch the tackles I'm going against. Try to find any small tendencies I could pick up, like, oh, does the offensive tackle look where he's going? Okay, so that if I know that everywhere he looks, I can just follow him because as an edge, our keys most of the time is the offensive tackle. So if the tackle is looking down the line, I know, okay, he's looking down the line. I'm most likely going to have to use a shuffle technique just to make sure that I have contained still on the quarterback. If he's either looking towards me, I know that, all right, I might get a zone block, a reach block, arc block. If his back leg is very far back and exaggerated, I know, okay, this guy probably knows I'm a very fast edge rusher and is about to be passed and he's trying to
Yeah.
gather himself for that. So those tendencies I look for. His, like I said, eyes. I look at how hard the person I'm going against plays because like you said, I'm very relentless and I go hard, no matter if it's the first quarter or the fourth quarter. So if I could tell this guy's kind of a quitter throughout the later ends of the game, I know that I'm going to go crazy on him in the third and fourth quarter because he's going to quit when those times comes. How tough does he play? Do I know going in there? Is this going to be like a heavyweight matchup, or is this a guy I could just pick on? So these are some of the things I'll just look at specifically for the person I'm going against. But then I watch the big picture as a whole offense, just to know kind of how they run their offense and what they do. So I find a lot of fun in doing those things and watching film. Like I watch film more than I actually just watch games on TV. That's probably the reason why I don't watch games on TV because I watch so much film. I probably get tired of it, but I enjoy it. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, you got the game and then you got the game within the game, which is,
Exactly.
all this mental aspects of it. And,
Mhm.
I'm sure that's what helps you play so fast.
Yes. Yes.
And it's paying off for you.
Mhm.
This offseason, you had the opportunity to showcase yourself in front of scouts at the CGS All Star.
Yeah.
How you feel like that week went for you?
It was good for me. Obviously, as a NFL prospect, you really want to get the Senior Bowl, the East West Shrine, and that's what I was kind of waiting on. But then I got a call from my agent that the CGS wanted me to come out, and at the end of the day, opportunity is an opportunity. Um, and when I got there, I already knew I was going to dominate. I knew I was going to be the best player there, and that's what it was. And I know there was an article that came out that said I was the best defensive lineman there, and like I said, I just the way and I prepared myself and the confidence I have, I kind of knew I was going to be the that was going to be what was going to happen. For me, going to the CGS was mainly just to get in front of scouts
Yeah.
and talk to them because, like, the film is out there. I can go out there and dominate on the film, but you already knew that if you watched my film, that's what I was going to do. For me, I just wanted teams to know who I am as a person because I value myself very highly on what I can bring to the team as from who I am as a person. I talked to that earlier, just my leadership skills, no off the field issues, raised from a great family who raised me the right way, very strict. Education was big in my family. So, just getting in front of all those teams and all those scouts, talking to like, probably, I think I talked to like over 18 scouts that day, almost 20 scouts just that day alone. Well, not the day, it was like over 3 days, but,
Uh-huh.
the whole time, just talking to like over 18 teams and just letting them know who I am. I feel like helped me a lot because it's a package deal. You want the player, but you also want a good person. So just have to let them know that.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the confidence, man. You went in there knowing you were going to dominate, but
Yeah,
I also think like is obviously a big part of it is being able to get in front of these scouts, being able to talk to them. But I think another part too is you're able to do that and going up against guys that maybe you wouldn't normally be going up against, right? And I
100%.
spoke to Mike Riddleman, who's the scouting director for CGS, and he mentioned to me that this year's CGS had like the trenches were the best part of it, right?
Mhm.
So on both sides of the ball. So
Yeah,
I mean, I think the fact that you dominated against some, I would imagine, pretty good offensive linemen, I think
yeah,
shows a lot about you. But I know you had mentioned to me you got a chance to speak to the 49ers out there at CGS. I know
yeah,
that was a few months ago now, and you've probably had a ton of other conversations
yeah,
since then. But if you could recall anything from that conversation, how'd that go being the
yeah,
Niners?
yeah. I mean, it was a great, great conversation. Obviously, like I know how big of a program the 49ers was. So to hear that they wanted to speak to me, I was very excited for it. And the conversation was very good. I went like onwards like 30 minutes. It was very long. Very informal. Like they really want to know a lot about who I am,
Mhm.
because like I said, like they already have the film,
Right.
so they kind of just want to know who I was as a person for that time at the CGS. And I just try my best to really show them who I am and what I could bring. Talk to them. I've been talking to the 49ers up until this point now. Just having great conversations, great feedback from them. They also came up to my pro day,
Yeah.
um, and they were there watching me train and whatnot. So that was great to see. And then just talking to them to recently is this past week. Just always staying in a loop with them is just amazing to see that. I know it's amazing to see that they have interest in me because being able to add to that team who already have a really great edge rusher in Nick Bosa. Just thinking about being able to be on the opposite side of him and letting him take all the double teams and triple teams and letting me just come free.
Let you
and,
cook. Yeah.
that would be good. So I'm just excited, man.
Man, that's awesome. Like
Yeah,
I'm very excited to hear that you've been speaking to them, a lot throughout the course of this pre-draft process and even recently. I think that says a lot about, the interest that they have in you. But I'm sure, the Niners aren't the only one, right? There's gonna be other teams clamoring for you
yeah.
when all is said and done. And I think that's great for you. But how would it feel, to be able to play alongside Nick Bosa? And, we were just speaking about, the fact that your game's still a little bit raw. I mean, playing with Bosa and having you be under his wing and him being able to teach you on some things, that would definitely speed up the process. You have to imagine, right?
Absolutely. And going back to what I said, like obviously I'm a leader and I always want to lead, but there's nothing wrong with being a follower, you know. And when you talk about someone who has a game like in a resume, like Nick Bosa, I would definitely want to just, you know, absorb and observe everything that he does and take in anything that I could add to my game. And that would be huge for me and my development as well, I believe. Just being able to play alongside someone like him and his stature and what he's already done in the league, just to pick up any little bits and pieces that I can. So I would be elated. Like there's no words to even say, honestly. You know, obviously being on the West Coast, from being from the East Coast, finally be able to be on the West Coast and just see how that vibe is about as well. And playing for, like I said, another big organization like the 49ers. So everything it just sounds amazing. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yep, and they're definitely looking for pass rushers. But now I know you're probably, now that pro day's over, getting back to actual football training, which I'm sure is exciting for you.
Mm.
Um, so walk me through what a typical day of training is looking like for you right now. What are you working on?
Okay, so me, I'm big on sleep. So
Hey, nothing wrong
try,
with that.
exactly. So I got to make sure I get my 8 hours, depending on what time I go to sleep the night before. So when I wake up, I always have a big breakfast, and then I go out training immediately, probably around, I want to say 10, 11 ish in the morning. I'm training, doing speed first. I'll do a speed training. Um, some days just be like speed and agility. Some days I kind of incorporate like football or pass rushing drills to that. So that would go for about like an hour, hour and a half. Then I'll do like another hour, hour and a half of weight training. Um, then after that, where I'm at right now is actually my PT spot. That's about 20 minutes away from my house. I always come here at least 3 times a week just to get some soft tissue work, just to make sure that my body's 100%. Like I'm blessed right now that I have no real injuries on my body. So that's something I'm happy for. But I always make sure to stay on top of it
Right.
just in case anything may show up. So I'm here right now. They let me use their little conference room to do this interview, but I'll get that done. Um, Stretch here, soft tissue work, anything, any like tightness I have, they get that done, and then that's really it. I'll probably end my day like around 5 ish. Um, Go home, just eat, spend time with family because I'm back at home now since training is done. So yeah.
And as far as, improving your craft as a pass rusher, is there anything specific you're working on, or are you working with like a pass rush specialist
Yeah.
coach, during this time as well?
Yeah, so I'm working with a pass rush specialist coach right here in Jersey. I've been working with him for a while now, and he's been getting me right because I feel like something that I really want to work on. It's just a variety of moves that I can use. Obviously, I just want to have certain moves that I just have down pat mastered,
Mhm.
but you always want to have some backup moves that you can use in certain situations. So that's what I'm kind of working on, and also just improving my power moves too. Obviously, everybody knows I'm a finesse guy, but they always underestimate my power, and I love that so much because just catching people off guard with the power, it's funny. It's funny seeing them uh, fall and tumble over, and then just be like, I didn't expect that from this guy, but just improving that with him, and then also improving the variety of other moves that I could use, kind of been the focus, and just being defined with my hands. Knowing where they're supposed to be attacking, and hitting that point every time because you go out there, you hit a move, and you kind of just throwing your arms out there. It may look like you're doing something, but you're not
Right.
really doing something. So
Right.
yeah.
Cool. No, that's great to hear. Now, I'm also curious, like in conversations that you've had with teams, like if you're getting a sense of where they kind of have you on their board,
Mm.
in general, like no, you don't have to give me any specific on a team, but like just what your range is going to be for the draft, like where teams kind of have you.
Yeah, so day three is my day. And I kind of knew that early on. Obviously, I definitely feel like everybody has their own opinions, and I'm always going to remain confident in myself. But just with my numbers, what I've done in this period of time and everything, I obviously believe like I'm the best defensive edge rusher prospect in the draft. No, I'm not 6'6". No, I'm not 6'5". No, I don't have 35, 34-inch arms. No, I'm not 270, 260 or whatnot. No, I don't run a 4'3", 4'2". Well, a lot of people in our position don't really run that, but um, I definitely feel like what I bring to the table, as long as my numbers and my film can show that, can back me up. Like when I say
Right.
that, it's not when I say that you look at me crazy. I feel like what I brought to the table backs it up. and what I can bring to the table as well as the potential that we said has not been tapped. Like it's through the roof. I feel like so. Day three is my day. I'm kind of knowing that now. Most teams think I could be drafted. Um, there is a possibility of me being a PFA. A dream of mine always as a little kid was to get drafted. So obviously, I would love to hear my name called on TV. If the PFA is the thing, then hey, man, my dream was to make it to the NFL and play there for a long period of time. And all I need is my foot in the door and a team
Yeah.
to call my phone. So whatever happens that day, happens that day. But that's all gonna happen on day three. So
For sure. No, that's definitely exciting. And I do hope, you hear your name called as well, because, that's obviously a moment you can carry with you forever.
yeah,
Hypothetically, in the event that maybe you were a PFA, I just want to bring this back to you. What would you be looking for in a team? Like, because
yeah,
at that point you get to pick where you go from all the teams that are
exactly.
interested. So that kind of makes it different. So what would you be looking for in that case?
Yeah, and honestly, like I've even been talking with my team and my agent. Like it's kind of like in the recent years, it's kind of been seeing that being a PFA rather than being a 6th, 7th round pick is kind of better because you at that point when you ask the question like, what are you looking for? The number one thing I'm looking for is okay, where can I go and make an impact quick? You know what I mean? If a team drafted 2 or 3 edges already
Yeah.
and already have 4 or 5 edges on their roster who they've signed, obviously that kind of wouldn't be the best fit for me. So that's the number one thing I look at. My availability to be able to get there and get the most amount of reps and exposure and just have the best chances and probability wise to make the team. Because obviously my goal is not to just make it to the NFL. My goal is to play in the NFL, make an impact for a very long time. So that's the first thing I'm looking at. Then obviously coaching staff and everything that comes with that. Like, do I believe and trust these guys that they're going to be able to take me to the heights that I want to go and where I want to achieve? So for me, I'll top of my head right now, those are 2 things that for me are huge in that aspect of picking a team.
Yeah, that is huge. And wherever you go, and whether it is that you hear your name called and you go day three, or if it is via PFA, like I hope that you go to a team that is able to give you those opportunities, man. And I got one last question for you, Brian. This has been an awesome interview so far, so again, appreciate your time. But I'm gonna end it with this: what is a team, what is a fan base getting both on and off the field with Brian Ugwu?
Man, on the field, you're getting a guy that, man, this is all he wanted to do. Like I've said before, as a little kid, I literally remember the first football game I ever watched was the 2000, I think it was 2007 Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl with the Colts and the Bears. When the Colts won, I remember watching that Super Bowl and immediately fall in love with football. And I remember growing up, my parents didn't want me to play the sport at all. Being able to just sneak out the house and go play finally in high school, like I said earlier, and just to see where I've come now. Like every time I step on the field, like I just remember those things, and that's why I play so hard. So I understand what it took for me to get to this moment. And when I step on the field, I just want to play harder than everyone else, be more relentless than everyone else. I go by the model that I play with bad intentions. I don't play this game of football nice, soft. I don't talk crap. I rarely talk unless I'm communicating with my teammates, but as soon as the ball snaps, it's just all you're gonna hear is me moving and hitting hard. So relentless. I'm a leader. That's on the field and off the field. I always tend to lead, and wherever I lead at, no matter if it's high school, college, I always tend to lead a winning team. And I always have a winning mindset. Um, in college, I've won conference championships as a leader. High school, I won state championships as a leader. And obviously, when I make it to the NFL, I want to win Super Bowls as a leader. So you're getting a leader, you're getting a hard worker, a determined person, man of God. That's huge in my faith. And yeah, just a bunch of things that I feel like will obviously just help any program that wants me to be a part of it. So
Man, I know any team's gonna be happy to hear that, and
mhm.
fans as well. They're gonna love it. I'm loving it just hearing it. So Brian, I definitely wish you the best of luck. Man, we're so close to the draft. Like it's literally
And,
a week from from almost now to the hour.
exactly.
So I'll actually slip in one last question.
Of
Any
course.
plans for the draft that you have going on?
Man, I'm gonna be with family for sure. We have some set up real. It's going to be real close though. I know a lot of people probably do like those big parties where I invite everyone, people they barely talk to, just to see them in their moment. But I'm keeping it real close with the people that, you know, been through this journey with me from the longest. So just real close family and friends, some small, just to enjoy the moment. And I'm excited for it because I don't really celebrate myself really, not even my birthday. So this probably be the one time I get to do that. And I'm excited for it.
Well, you've definitely earned it, Brian. So best of luck, like I said, not just, for this next week, but beyond that as well, obviously. And if you're a Niner, we'll stay in touch for sure. But, wherever you go, going to be rooting for you.
Nah, thank you. That means a lot.
All right. And appreciate everyone that tuned in. So make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're a week away from the draft, but there will be more draft content just like this. So make sure you guys keep it locked. But for now, have a good rest of your Thursday, folks. Peace.